Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Blue Dragon 5 here.
And Jacob Wile.
And Conner Nielsen.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we find ourselves in the midst of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, having started a war in the process, we thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever-growing catalog and rule on what's a must or a bust on Disney+. Plus.
And tonight we bring to you She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, Episode 5. Mean, green, and straight poured into these jeans.
Amen.
Which I think, if I remember correctly, is the longest episode title in Marvel so far.
Really? Huh.
Most likely.
That sounds about right. I mean, you would know. You typed up all these things, so...
Yeah, I mean, I had to literally change the way I typed in the title just to fit the whole title into this.
So, as you probably noticed, we have a special guest on this week, as She-Hulk has had, time and time again. So here, we got Conner Nielsen, a man who is oddly not up to date on all the TV, but is kind of dipping a toe blindly into things now and again. So, Conner, you've watched She-Hulk, right?
Yes, I had not seen any of these episodes until this afternoon when I just binged all 5 episodes. So forgive me if I'm forgetting which detail goes to which episode.
Well, overall, how you feeling, buddy, about it?
Well, I think it's fine.
Okay.
So with the Marvel shows in the past, I've been pretty lukewarm. On the more positive side of my enjoyment of these, I've been mostly lukewarm. On the lesser enjoyable side, I have pretty much hated a few of these. But I don't know. Like when it comes to this show in particular, I was not really liking the trailers and the kind of without fail. I would watch a trailer and enjoy it, and then watch the show and then like it less than the trailer. So I was kind of honestly maybe looking to avoid this because I was not really digging the trailers. But to my surprise, positive surprise, pleasant surprise, I should say, I thought this was all right. I think that as far as being a sitcom, it actually commits to being what it is. I like that almost shockingly, kind of as a change of pace. It's a show called She-Hulk, and it's actually about She-Hulk. And when you get like Loki, it's like barely about Loki. And then this is actually a She-Hulk show, and I think that's cool. So I don't know. I think it's got, some issues here and there that we'll talk about, but for the most part, the show is very consistent, which is something I cannot really say about a lot of these other Marvel shows. And I think primarily because Tatiana Maslany is a very solid lead. I have heard a lot of praise for this actress from Orphan Black, but this is the first time I've actually seen her in anything, I think. So I would say thumbs up for her, and I think all around, I'm generally positive on this show, but we'll see where it goes in the last half of the season's run. But I kind of foresee it mostly just continuing as is.
Yeah, Maslany, I think she's been rather magnetic in terms of like just being really charming. I think each episode she kind of gets even better and better. That's kind of my experience with her. I mean, before this, I only knew her for 2 things that were not Orphan Black. I knew that was what she was famous for. I never watched that show. I saw her in 2 things: one live action, which I didn't. It's not that I didn't care for her. I didn't care for her subplot. And it was that was the HBO Perry Mason reboot that they did, the one that Downey Jr. produced with Matthew Rhys playing Perry Mason. You ever get wind of that, Conner?
I forgot that was made. I'm a big fan of Raymond Burr Perry Mason from Saturdays at 2:00 when I'd watch that with my grandparents.
Well, the show's not bad. I'm not crazy about Maslany. She's kind of like one of the heavies in the show, and like her thing is just she kind of like it's a heavy without really being present. I don't know. I just didn't quite care for her but that wasn't a reflection on her. That was just more a reflection on the storytelling. But The other thing I know her from the voice work wise, she did an excellent job with. She was in one of Del Toro's. Del Toro had like this whole universe of animated shows on Netflix that were great, and they're all like different kind of genres. They have like a kind of a magic show, which well, kind of a fantasy show in a suburban setting with trolls, with troll hunters. Sorry, troll hunters.
You mean the Tales of Arcadia series?
Well, yes, the Tales. That's the better way of putting it. So the Tales of Arcadia series, which basically it's like three different like you have.
It was Troll Hunters, then Three Below, and then Wizards.
And they all kind of met up in kind of a finale movie of sorts.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the middle one was Three Below, and essentially Tatiana Maslany and her brother are basically there. She's like an alien princess, like she and her brother, like kind of like the heirs to an alien throne. They all end up in the same location. All of them take place in Arcadia, so that's kind of that's kind of Del Toro's thing. And she was great in that. Is my long, kind of overdrawn way of summing that up.
I had completely forgotten she was in that.
Yeah, she's really.
I actually plan on starting to rewatch Tales of Arcadia so I can, remember everything since I kind of stopped watching after Three Below.
Well, considering it's all done, I mean, it'd be a good idea.
Yep.
Anyway, so this week's episode,
and my thing to that is like whether or not you like the series or not, or agree with some of the stuff that's going on in this particular show. It's like one thing that consistent is like Tatiana Maslany, despite what you say about the writing, you can't really deny her. She's giving it all in her performance. Like she embodies the character the way they've envisioned it.
The show is really successful so far in regards to introducing a new character to the MCU, in which you're like, hey, there's She-Hulk, and we like her. Yay, us. Let's put her in things.
Mm-hmm.
So this episode specifically, here's how I'm feeling on this one. I love the concept of this episode because I think the thing I've been loving most, I think it's been really true of the She-Hulk character is that she's a little. I've kind of used this analogy before. It's like she and Jessica Jones, who I would love to show up in the show, not in the cards most likely, but regardless, the fact is you have these female characters who are just getting the crap end of the Marvel universe, and we're kind of playing with the fun mundanity of that. And of course, in the legal setting, there's a lot of room for mundanity. And this episode, we put She-Hulk in a very mundane lawsuit over the She-Hulk name. But it's the only issue I have with this. That's a great premise, and that's in line with what I love with the show. But I feel this episode is not bad, but I do feel it's a lot of it's just really set up. This episode is very much a setup episode for She-Hulk's wardrobe. That's pretty much what the whole episode's about. I mean, you have a little bit of character progression in the grand scheme of like, okay, she's accepting the She-Hulk name, and we're getting her like inching her closer to kind of suiting up and becoming a hero, literally with the costume. It's like, okay, but this one very much feels like, and we have to spend a whole episode explaining where she gets the costume from, which is one thing, but it just feels like, okay, it's a cute idea. Not a whole lot of not a whole lot to it. So it's not bad. It's a little by the numbers. So I don't know if I'd say it's as good as the previous episodes we have gotten up to this point, but not really a downgrade. Just like a little more is like, okay, let's just kind of we're setting up the dominoes. That's where I'm at on it, Jacob.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, like I still think last week's is probably the best one so far, if you're asking my personal opinion, but I still think that this show is still definitely on an upswing. So I definitely like last week's episode more than this one. But I will say, I mean, there are some parts where I kind of like the whole court case with Titania more than I did the whole costume subplot.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just love how over the top Titania is.
Yes.
I mean, she's just like this. I think it's
well, she's an influencer. She's a super powered, like a D-list influencer of sorts.
Is Titania from the comics at all?
Yeah, she's in the comics. I remember she is a She-Hulk bad guy. I forget how top tier she was. She might have. I don't know if she was the arch foe or not. I don't know.
And I'm guessing that she wasn't an influencer in those.
Likely no.
Well, in either way, I mean, I still like the way we can't always expect like a 1-to-1 adaptation for the MCU, and I think this is a good way to counteract She-Hulk. Like she's the straight-laced, serious lawyer, and then we have Titania who trademarked She-Hulk's name.
Yeah.
Did-
Which, by the way, is an awesome. Did you? I don't know if you guys heard this. Did you hear the awesome fun fact about this episode?
What?
Yeah. So the whole trademarking the name thing is actually it's an awesome deep cut to the origin of She-Hulk, where She-Hulk, the character, the word is that she when they were doing the amazing Bill Bixby show. I love the Incredible Hulk TV show from the '70s. So when they were doing that, at a certain point, there were always talks of like they were going to spin off into more Marvel characters. Like again, we had Thor pop up on there and Daredevil, obviously, and again there was kind of an attempt at a Black Widow, and perhaps they're going to solidify that. And additionally, they were thinking about kind of like how '60s Batman had Batgirl. They were going to do a kind of a Batgirl equivalent with She-Hulk. They're going to do a She version of the Hulk. Now, Marvel got wind of this, and they realized that again it's a very legalese sort of thing. Like, hey, we don't want to pay the Incredible Hulk show to do our own She-Hulk, so we're going to beat them to the punch. So essentially, that's that's how She-Hulk came into be. They're trying.
Yeah, wasn't that sort of born out of the Bionic Woman spinoff of
Yeah,
$6 Million
exactly.
Man?
Yeah, it was very. That's the better comparison. I was just using Batgirl because it was kind of like a third season thing. I think that's roughly where they were contemplating it for the. It was towards like later to the end of the run. But you're right though; it's very much a Bionic Woman thing.
Did I mention that to you last
No,
week?
no, as in no. I think that was literally the reason why they created She-Hulk was they were looking at the success of Bionic Woman and thinking, oh no, like they can just make a female spinoff that is basically the same character and not have to pay us so quick. Come up with a character that's a Lady Hulk so that if they ever make a TV show out of it, they can pay us royalties.
I think you actually summarized it better. All I do know is that at some point, whether before or after She-Hulk came into being, the TV show did consider bringing her in. I'm guessing what happened is the Bionic Woman thing happened exactly like you said it did. But then once She-Hulk was an entity, I don't know the years on this, so I can't say with 100% authority here. But let's say She-Hulk was on the page, and probably towards the very end of the show, they were thinking about doing the whole origin with the cousin, perhaps.
I know I mentioned that to you last week. Was that live or off air?
I don't remember the specifics of that, Jake, but it wasn't on air. I don't think it was on air if it was.
I know, but I do remember mentioning it to you though.
Anyway.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that as a reference to that, but if it was, that's a pretty neat, subtle reference there.
No, it is entirely possible. It's just coincidence. It's just good writing. But I'm just saying, it's like very just given how meta the show has been up to this point. I'd like to think that's like okay. Here's like a cute reference to the thing that kind of gave us She-Hulk in the first place in her origin season. So let's do that.
Trademarking.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very Incredibles logic, which is what She-Hulk has going for it at its best, with the whole fantastic, the mundane Brad Bird equation, if you will, that we can kind of like put through the show at times. So so we get She-Hulk by Titania. This was a lot of laughs. This whole just the worst kind of. I think we all know the worst kind of foe, gentlemen. The litigious kind. It's the fact that Titania. She gets her butt handed to her, and her recourse is she gets her followers to bail her out on like a technicality, I'm sure, and her way of spiting She-Hulk is not fighting her, it's stealing her name and suing her for it. So despicable, and attaching her name to really very non-FDA approved sham products, as we put in the episode, which is very sketchy, shady stuff.
Oh God.
Literally selling snake oil.
Fun parody of the whole like beauty internet industry and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
I love her making fun of the whole. Well, these are all like the same product. We're just naming it different things. Like
I mean, technically there are differences. I mean, I did some looking at that. There are some slight differences between each of those things, but I mean they're kind of minor.
Exactly.
But there actually are differences.
Yeah. So let's see.
But yeah, it's like she was like no cutting, and then Jen actually takes the picture of the girl with Titania.
I love how nice she is. Like there's just one picture. There's just one. I'm out of here. Like Titania calling her like a little girl because of how she dresses. Like really taking all the nuts at her with.
Yeah, I think the best line in this is the other lawyer that Jen works with, who says that we need to get you better clothes so you don't look like an athlete,
like an NFL player pleading out for a DUI.
Yeah, that was very very funny.
Like everybody is like dissing on her wardrobe.
Nice suit, Shrek.
Yeah. No, I thought this was a pretty decent episode. I think this is probably my favorite one. Like I said earlier, I think this is a very consistent show
Yeah.
overall. You had mentioned that you felt like it was a lot of setup. The one thing I actually liked about this is the ways in which it's paying stuff off. Actually, I thought that the bringing back the men she went on dates with was a solid payoff for that. It wasn't just a gag, isolated to one episode. Like that did have a payoff. And what was kind of interesting is how the first few episodes are all about, like specifically the first episode is, I don't have an alter ego, I am just Jen, there's only one brain in here. But then the way she's sort of perceived by others, there's that one man who is attracted to She-Hulk but not attracted to Jen. And
Yeah.
so there maybe is this idea that, like, just because she is comfortable and she is one person, whether or not she is Jen or She-Hulk, the way in which she is sort of seen by everyone else is that there are two. And so I think that's a nice, maybe a dramatic tension to sort of add to this series that, sort of develops on what's been coming beforehand.
And Connor, you're right. And to a point, though, I feel the most meat that we got in the episode was kind of like Jacob was saying. It was the court case at hand, where I just feel like the costume stuff was purely like. Here's the thing: what really, I think, paid off things a lot more for me on that front. If we saw her in the if we kind of saw her in her new clothes or something, or we kind of at least saw the suit. I don't know. It just feels like we kind of built. I know we're gonna see it sooner or later, but it just feels like, hey, throughout the episode we keep making fun of the wardrobe and like, hey, listen, get her some new clothes while we're doing the trial. Well, we did the trial, right? And she was stuck in the old clothes. Like, what was the point of all that?
Well, we can definitely say Pug definitely knew the right guy.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But I don't know. It was kind of a thing that bugged me. Like, yeah, like the whole episode is like, yeah, we got to get you some new clothes. Oh yes, my clothes. Just like, yeah, we completely forgot about that subplot. Let's go back to it. That's the thing that bugged me about the episode. If we fixed that, I think it would have been a little better. I don't know, because it feels like literally it's a lot of build up to something that's not there.
No, I get that. And I would say probably that subplot is my least favorite aspect of it. I enjoy her paralegal and like the other lawyer she works with. This is his name, like Pug or something.
Yeah, Pug, who was on Arrow, by the way. You remember? Did you ever get in Arrow?
No.
You were a smart man. I'm just going to say that right now.
Yes. That's what everyone tells me. So I'll take your word for
after
it.
2 seasons. If you pull the ripcord after 2 seasons, it's a smooth flight.
So, I enjoy those characters. I think their antics are a little too silly, even because I don't think the standards of this show have made it like super silly. Even like, reinventing Emil Blonsky as like kind of like a Zen hippie, kind of like Jared Leto type. Like they are like what I kind of have enjoyed actually about Jen as a leading character is that even though this is a sitcom, she is like the straight man in the dynamic, right? She's very lawyerly brained. She's very by the book. And so even though there's like these kind of silly, kind of outrageous things happening around her, she is taking it all pretty seriously and is just kind of looking at it without winking. And I really appreciate that. And I think that's the secret to what works about this show. And when you take her out of it and you get these two side characters together, it does sort of run away with itself a little too much in the silly department. Like, I don't need them buying bootleg like Avengers and Avengers shirts, even though that's a funny gag. That is, them actually buying it is a little much. You know what I mean? And like,
here's the thing: the show. I think there was like a balancing act of tone that at times I think for the most part, like you said, with her being the straight man, it does work and is kind of an anchoring thing for like, okay, we can get experimental with the tone in this show because we're doing a comedy. But we also have like a character who's like, this is happening to her, and you feel for her as she's kind of circumnavigating these new waters. Which again, it's like superhuman law is like a new thing, and again, it's a fun way of getting the fantastic and the mundane. It also brings about kind of we kind of talked about this in other shows. I think kind of a night court vibe of sorts. Where you care about these, you care about the things that are happening, but by the same token, though, it's a little heightened, but it's also kind of self-reflective. It's kind of a satire and exaggeration, kind of where we're at now, because it is kind of like, if we had superheroes in our world, so something like this would happen, but again, kind of in an exaggerated sense.
Well, it's mildly better than Registration, I guess.
No. I mean, sure. Well, I mean, I don't. Yeah, but yeah,
I
but in
mean,
regards to
or are you on pro registration?
well, no, I'm always Team Cap on that issue. But let's just
Do you know what's funny about that whole thing though?
what
Chris Evans is Team Iron Man.
real?
Yep,
Uh,
like he would in real life he was Team Iron Man.
funny. But yeah, Nikki and Pug, of course, I do think they are fun together. And you're basically saying like them like kind of wearing the swag and everything after buying it is a little broad, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and then when they go in and
It
talk
is
to the door, the ways in which that they convince the designer to like see She-Hulk, that felt like no, that this is sort of breaking the professional reality established by
Because
the
basically, if they
show.
lied that many times, why would he believe them when they said, "Oh, we know an Avenger"?
Yeah, exactly.
That's absolutely fair. And again, that's perhaps again we're kind of maybe stretching things. We're stretching things a bit. I do like the visual of them in the gear though. It's like that's something I don't know. It's like an LA thing. Perhaps I could buy that. Is them doing some wacky while they're not at the office. But yeah,
and
you're right though.
and
Bye.
Pug having Thor's hammer.
The best thing about that whole thing again with just the whole the knockoff stuff. I love the bootleg merchandise and that we're in a legal show, so this is just priceless. The fact that we can't use the copyrighted Avengers stuff like as a gag here. It's just it's like we see bootleg merchandise all the time and it's terrible.
Although I would totally buy a Avengers shirt.
Who would buy an Avant? That I don't get. Who would buy an Avengers shirt?
I mean, I would in real life now.
Why? Why would you buy an Avengers shirt?
If it becomes official merchandise, I would.
But the thing, whenever it's by definition, it's not official merch.
No, I mean like if like Marvel makes official Avengers merchandise.
Oh, okay, I got you. Now I thought you meant in universe. Why would you buy an Avengers shirt?
I'm not talking about in universe. I'm talking about out of universe. Here,
yeah, sure, yeah.
Like
wait.
And if you notice, the Hulk was purple, which kind of
I know it was purple with a mustache. If you notice,
he looked like the Amazing Bulk, and I thought that was hilarious.
And
yeah,
I was more reminded of like the from the one from Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah, with Kronk.
Yeah, Kronk.
Yeah,
wasn't he purple?
Yeah, he was purple. He's purple with green shorts. Yeah, they flipped the colors.
Yep, it's like and the Amazing Bulk. Yeah, and that does. And now that you mentioned it, Connor, I do kind of agree with you on that one. Funnily enough, I think I mentioned that like either last week or a couple of weeks ago on this show, and Dragon had no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah, no idea.
Like, but seriously, it needs to be seen to be believed, right, Connor?
I have not watched it, and I'm not gonna.
But I haven't watched it. I've seen reviews of it, and like I said, it still needs to be seen to be believed.
Yeah. Oh.
So I want to backpedal from the comedy for a second here before we get back into stuff.
Yeah, we don't need another torturing Obi-Wan segment.
Oh no. Okay, so I really feel the theme of the episode is Jennifer, accepting, the She-Hulk, kind of, the She-Hulk namesake and everything. It's very much.
She's basically accepting the fact that now, like, taking in what Bruce said, that She-Hulk is now a part of who she is.
And that's the thing. So what we're doing this episode particularly is we found an interesting way to kind of get her, like, put her on the way of her arc in like a reluctant way, where she kind of literally has to take the name in the legal sense, or else like her boss to say, "This is gonna make us look really bad. You gotta nip this in the bud, man." That's the fact. Yeah.
I mean, Holloway does make a valid point.
Well, oddly, is eating peanuts in like a really distracting way.
Still doesn't change the fact that he was right about the whole problem, though.
No, he absolutely was, and how to handle that. So, Holloway, he earned his name on that building. I'll say that much. But I'm saying I like that we found a way to do the reluctant hero arc in kind of a really practical way. Where she's going to go from lawyer to hero ultimately by the end of the show. So, and she's kind of taking less kind of it's kind of like a weird kind of slant in a good way on with great power comes great responsibility. In this case, it's more of like taking personal responsibility that has been thrust upon her, and she just didn't want to really accept it, and she kind of has here. And it's kind of a question, where does Jennifer Walters end and where does She-Hulk begin within the two, now that She-Hulk is becoming kind of her own thing.
In this case, it's with great power comes legal responsibility.
There you go. Let's sell that with the Avengers merchandise. Yeah.
Legal responsibility.
just the fact that we're forcing her to accept this is like a really kind of this is a really economic way of kind of progressing things. Because the show, Connor, how have you felt about the show's pacing?
I think it's pretty good
Yeah.
because I think particularly the second episode was maybe it was a pretty short episode, and I
Well,
don't
again, the
feel like
first two episodes really should have been combined. That's like a whole thing where it's
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think actually the second and third episode actually would have maybe been better served as one.
really.
But yeah, because like I just feel like there's not enough was getting done in that second episode, and like it was pretty short, and I also felt like it didn't have enough content to even fill that. And so I feel like that could have been combined with something else. There's Emil Blonsky in both of them, so But like the thing is, primarily though, going forward, it is pay. It feels like they got TV people to make this TV show, which my biggest issue with these Marvel shows has been they feel like movie people who don't really understand TV trying to do TV. But this one feels like a TV show, and I like that. I like how episodic it is. It feels like each episode has its own thing that it's doing, and whatever that final destination they're building to is, I'm fine just hanging out with what we're doing right now, because actually what this show is like right now is kind of what I wanted the Netflix Daredevil to kind of be more of, but it wasn't. And that's fine for that show. Like it is. But like I was kind of hoping that show would be like, and then every episode, Matt Murdock has a case he's got to do. And then the B plot is, he's
So basically,
Daredevil
you were
and
hoping
stuff.
for a case of the week with kind of a running character arc through line sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this is kind of what that is. Now, obviously, this show isn't as good as Netflix Daredevil, but like my favorite stuff in Netflix Daredevil was like when he has to represent the Punisher. You know what I mean? Like I loved that, and I do enjoy seeing their professional duties, and like I don't know, I like that. I really like that. I like a legal superhero like kind of procedural sitcom thing. And this is going more in the comedy direction than I imagined Daredevil ever would have. But I do appreciate that.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. So honestly, I mean, I kind of have this theory, and so far nothing's. I mean, the next episode, well, I think will probably put this to the test. But I mean, kind of like it's so interesting to bring up the whole TV writing versus kind of movie guys, kind of segmented into television. It's I kind of like Moon Knight. Moon Knight, in a sense, was like every two episodes is like the arc of like the act of a movie. And
It's kind of funny you mentioned Moon Knight because like that's one of the writers of that, but basically the creator of that also did Umbrella Academy.
real. Oh yeah, wait, wait. You mean the show?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to be sure. Okay, yeah, sure, yeah.
So so they did actually bring TV writers into these shows.
Yeah.
Oh, I know they got TV writers, but like I'm just saying, it feels like the way in which they're conceptualized is like, well, we just make them long movies, right? And I don't know. I'm not saying that's what is happening. I'm saying it's the way it feels to me.
Well, the point I was getting at is that like Moon Knight, the way I really like about Moon is like every two episodes is kind of like the act of a movie, and what we'll see with She-Hulk is it seems like every three episodes is essentially kind of an arc or an act, if you will. Like the first three episodes of the Emil Blonsky affair. These next three episodes that we're currently in, we'll have the third of next week. 4, 5, and 6. I think are her making the personal transition, like the acceptance of kind of Jennifer and She-Hulk now that she's in the public eye and she like kind of calls out the She-Hulk, kind of accepts the She-Hulk name at the end of 3, and then we're going forward like what's her life like after that, and then perhaps the last 3 episodes are kind of like the Daredevil, kind of like her becoming a superhero sort of thing. Like that's her making the the kind of the arc of like, well, what do you do once you are She-Hulk? So I mean, we'll see if it see how that goes. But I mean, I think if they can stick the landing, we could have a natural 3-act structure that is done episodically, but kind of over arcs like
Yeah,
3-act structure of a movie.
and
We're lucky.
I never really thought about that, but when you put it like that, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
And the whole like getting her costume thing,
Yeah.
like okay, now I don't say this just to dogpile on a show I don't like, and I know you like it, but when I look at the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, A, I hate it, but B, what I do is I look at that and I see it, and when I get to the end of it, it feels like completely superfluous, and I'm like, was this really just a 6-hour origin story for his Captain America costume? And that's kind of what it all really felt like it was leading up to. And with this though, like the costume feels like a more natural component of the story that is here, but it doesn't feel like. And I mean, it'll be different when we actually get the episode where she has the costume, but I don't feel like the point of this show was for She-Hulk to have a costume. And I do kind of like, I mean, obviously I like that.
Well, you know what helps that, Connor, is the fact that we have like a practical reason for why she needs new clothes, and also a
Yes,
costume to
yeah,
work its way in there very easily. It's like the Fantastic Four molecule thing. You know?
yeah, no, that's a good call. Yeah,
So I guess so. I'm sorry, real quick before we get into the whole who makes the costumes and obviously the really cool thing that we got from that. I want to mention Mallory Book. So she's the lawyer that is one of the other like I don't think she's a partner, but I think she's like one of the she's either an unnamed partner. She's high up in the organization. Mallory Book. She's from the comics. She actually is from the comics. Like Nikki's invented for the show. Mallory Book apparently became her boss for one of the runs of the comics. I don't know if it was the Charles Soule run or not, but she's been in there. So I mean, she might be on the track of like if She-Hulk goes on for a season 2 or whatnot, she might be around and perhaps might get promoted. Who knows? They don't really follow that to the letter, so who knows?
yeah.
She might be around as like another really good lawyer. I was really worried about her initially because she was like showing up like she was in like the little courtroom picture at the end when doing like a little group shot. Like, okay, look, here's like kind of our staff of lawyers and staff at at GL,
Mm-hmm.
that the Superhuman Law Division, and she just pops in during the one thing where where Dennis, the douchey guy, who was
Mm-hmm.
being defrauded, he's just like, hey, I can't be have someone represent me. I might fall in love with. I'm out of here. I was thinking, okay, we're gonna have my age old fear I've had for so many things. If I fear the procedural all business lady. The procedural all business lady. I'm just coming up with this name on the fly. So just go with me on this. Just the fact you have those ladies on the procedural shows that were very much like the strong, independent woman types, where it's very much like scoffing at everyone for having a vague interest or a hobby. Of like I'm all about this, man. I don't, like you have a relationship, scoff. Just that sort of like personal time, personal life, pshaw.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more kind of like kind of icy than that. But let's just simplify it there. Let's just bring it
Yeah,
out
yeah.
there. But essentially, that's kind of thing where like I remember when we were doing the Avengers, I was fearing like Black Widow would be one of those sorts of things. Like I'm a hero, I don't have time for trivial things. Where no, she was a regular person. She could make quips. She could have personal ties. She could ease up. Where in this case we kind of have this, we have a well defined character, it seems, in Mallory Book from this first impression. She's the big gun lawyer. She knows what she's talking about, and she develops kind of. I think what really saved her is she knows what she's talking about, and she develops a respect for the boldness of Jennifer Walters in her legal approach by the end of the episode, which was nice.
Yeah. One thing that I kind of appreciate about what the show has done with this episode in particular is that, it does showcase a lot of different female dynamics, where at the beginning of the show, like the first episode had a lot of like, women sticking together, right? Like her paralegal has got Jen's back and they got to stick together, right?
Yeah.
But and I understand that it's like we don't want to present women as like these catty people where everyone's always getting into drama or whatever. But then the show's also like, but I mean, those people exist and her name's Titania, right? And so but then also you can have two competent, smart, business-minded women that aren't naturally going to get along that well. That means they don't dislike each other, they respect one another, but like they're not quick to be friends. And that's kind of the dynamic between Jen and Mallory. And so I kind of will like to look at that dynamic moving forward. I like that kind of awkward moment where it seems like they're kind of getting close a little bit, and then Jen's like, oh boy, we're friends now, I'm so happy. And then it's like, what?
Poor Jen. She's put herself out there and just rejected. Like, oh,
Yeah. but so I like that the different like female dynamics at play here, and it's like, you know, you have Pug who kind of seems like a bit of a himbo, kind of a dumb jock guy, but in our first introduction to him though, you know, he demonstrates himself as a competent, smart, capable lawyer. He just kind of talks like Sylvester Stallone. You know what I mean?
Josh Segura is a good actor, man. He pops up in things just kind of like usually like this, with the exception of, well, not that I want to be clear. He was a bright spot of Arrow when he was there. He was a good bad guy, okay, ultimately. But I'm saying in general, the guy has range no one ever gives him credit for. This is a good role for him.
Who did he play on Arrow?
Yeah, he was. He was Prometheus. Ultimately, he was.
Okay.
They kind of fused. They kind of. It's kind of weird. They had Vigilante, but they kind of like a red herring where he's actually Adrian Chase, but they made Adrian Chase Prometheus.
Okay.
So yeah, but he was a really good bad guy for that season. Like basically, he saved the season to the point where if you ended Arrow season 5, at least it would have minimized the damage. It would have had a deterioration, but it wouldn't have been like, and we're beating a dead horse until like the very last season of Arrow.
It's like basically it's like beat a dead horse, and then onward. You're basically beating the skeleton at that point.
Exactly, precisely. But yeah, though, Pug's been fun. It cracks me up. We ended one of the episodes using the tag like, "Come on, guys, you know me." You know, when he's like, you know, I sexually harass women in the workplace. When clearly, you know, it was the doppelganger. Well, not the doppelganger. It was the Runa.
It was the shape-shifting elf.
Yes, the white elf. Yes, the light elf. Light elf. That's what I'm thinking
of. Poor Pug.
Yeah. Anywho, I'm sorry, Connor. I didn't mean to take away from what you were laying out there. Is there anything?
Oh no. I thought like with Titania and Jen and Mallory, like there was like just there was an interesting dynamic amongst the women characters in this show, and you know, I much prefer something like this where it is, you know, nuanced and like showcasing that nuance through actions and characters making decisions versus something like the first episode where every lady is like, I got your back no matter what. It's like, and they will just like say that, and like that's it. It's like you don't see them display that through action. So I think I like seeing that in this episode.
I love how our legalese tracks. I'm not saying this is tantamount to like this verbatim, but I love how like in a show like Better Call Saul, we did so much legal homework on things. Like all the law stuff essentially works on Better Call Saul. There are a few like gimmies, but but it's never anything like beyond the realm of this could happen. Where the legalese here tracks to the point of like, okay, so she needs to prove the name had been used, you know, before Titania did the whole She-Hulk by Titania thing. And her dating, you know, the press dubbing her She-Hulk and her doing her little interview and the dating profile, which we spent the whole episode with, you know, with all those painful dates, it tracks.
was the news footage that was shown, was that slightly edited?
Well, I mean, we had like the before that part that was added, like the whole like, her coming out. No, it's a garbage name. I don't want it. Like that was added for this. We never saw that before, but you know, we saw her like, you know, ducking the press before, so it's, you know, kind of filling the blanks. But,
it could have happened when she was visiting.
Yeah, exactly. It could have happened.
Yeah. It is kind of practical with the whole. What I'm talking about was like the whole. And by the way, what I'm talking about was like the whole interview with when she's like, "Did you come up with the name She-Hulk?" And then I think that part was slightly edited.
I mean, maybe it's minorly. I'm pretty sure it's like the same.
Oh,
clip.
yeah, from the news. Yeah.
Well, they cut out the end part because then it would have been the whole and like let the She-Hulk's tricks for diet and exercise or you know, whatnot.
It's like I do kind of like the whole practicality of like yeah, the only out that we have is public humiliation.
So again, it's her legal strategy here, which again is it feels on brand for Jennifer Walters, where again she just can't catch a break, and you feel for her, but it does work out. You know, there's you know, also you know here's an interesting thing. So people keep speculating about this guy, and I'm not saying there's any credence to that speculation, but so we have Toddy here, Todd. Todd is the creepy guy from the date who asked about like, you know, like, have any, you don't have any vibranium on you, do you? No, I wish. Like to, you know, quite the specimen, aren't you? Basically talking to like she's a lab experiment that I secretly might want her blood, which we know somebody this season does. Likely, fingers crossed, the leader. But Todd, the fact that he came up before they had this bright idea of bringing the X's, he was at a superhuman law firm Now, this
Okay.
guy is obsessed with super people. I'm thinking he might have been harassing some super people, quite possibly.
No, hey, yeah, that's a good call. I did not think about that.
I'm not saying he's the guy in charge of the wrecking crew. I'm still thinking that's the leader because that makes the most sense to me. But I don't
Right.
know. Regardless, Todd, I have two lines of thought for Todd. Now I haven't looked into. I know they cast somebody for this role, but I haven't looked into who they cast. We are getting leapfrog at some point. This
Well,
guy,
I do want to say I think you're onto something because the guy who plays Todd, I've seen him in other things. Like he's like an actual like actor who's been in like movies and stuff.
he does
So
look familiar, but I can't place who he is.
oh, he was in that terrible Baywatch movie. He's
Oh,
been
that's the guy. He lost a lot of weight. That's the guy.
yeah.
Huh.
But no, he was kind of funny in that. But like he's like one of the only things that's good about that. But yeah, no. So like I remember when he showed up, I was like, why is this actor just being showed up in like this random like side character in the She-Hulk? That's weird. You mentioning that's a good call. I forgot about the people wanting her blood. I think you're onto something here, Dragon.
We'll,
Yeah,
we'll
I
see how.
co-sign.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm just saying the fact that this guy's there, like, why the heck? Because he's a client of Mallory Books, so that guy's into something in regards to superhuman law, and we know he's very into the subject, and how we met her for that date. So I don't think he's the big bad, but I think he's into something. Whether he's leapfrog or not, I have no idea.
I think you're right.
All right. So also again, we had the sentimental moment here with you had kind of the moment full of pathos with Doctor Cliche. I've just nicknamed him Doctor Cliche, by the way. 'Cause she said like, "Yo, hot doctor, what a cliche." Um, Again, I felt so bad for Jen. She just can't win. Where that guy's on the stand politely saying like, "Well, I mean, look, I'm into She-Hulk, not not Jennifer Walters," and which she just can't find somebody like her for both sides. That's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, poor Jen. Someone cue the sad Hulk music. We need it right now. At some point, they got to put that sad Hulk
Well,
music in this.
we put it in here. Well, we put it up here right now if we didn't have copyright issues.
No. Yeah, we don't want to get sued by like a Titania lawsuit or anything. We don't want that to happen. But no, seriously. At some point, we are going to get that the thing from the trailer, like the homage to the '78 show. I wonder if they're going to play like the opening theme of the Incredible Hulk during that commercial. It'll be amazing. Jennifer Walters was was an attorney before taking a wild dune buggy ride one day.
and her cousin's blood got into an open wound.
Now she practices law at, you guessed it, GLH and Cake. Wait,
GLK and H.
GLK and H, yes.
That almost looked like an '80s action movie commercial.
Yes. All right, anyway, so, okay, let's see. So, oh, by the way, with Nikki and Pug, the fact that that Pug has, like, he's into awesome superhero licensed shoes that are, like, in universe, like, licensed shoes of MCU heroes. There are a lot of Easter eggs in the end credit kind of courtroom illustration. A lot of people are raving about. A lot of I don't think there's a whole lot of credence to it, but it's quite fun.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was a part of that subplot that I was like, it was still like, it hadn't quite, I think, gotten a little too silly. But were you saying like it's the drip broker?
The drip broker, his drip broker named Alonzo has kind of been his hookup for a bunch of these awesome like limited edition like MCU sneakers. Like you have the Iron Man
Yeah.
3s, which is
Well,
hysterical to me.
that I was about to mention that. That's great that they call them the Iron Man. And don't they like spell them out like the credits?
Yeah, threes. Like, yep.
Yeah, that's great. I like that.
That's hilarious.
But in the end credit art, they had a whole bunch of other recognizable heroes on sneakers, including a lot of our X-Men characters, including
Oh.
Deadpool, Cyclops, Cable, Wolverine, and also some other characters we haven't seen yet. The Thing from the Fantastic Four,
Ooh.
and it seemed that we saw Nova, and possibly Wonder Man. I think I saw the color pattern of Wonder Man. I think that might have been him.
Isn't Wonder Man thing in development or something?
Yeah, Wonder Man's in development right now, but it was like his weird weird in a good way. It was a cool costume. It's kind of like one of those kind of hokey Silver Age sort of kind of costume. It was the George Perez version of the suit, if that was Wonder Man. 'Cause it was like the green and red, like the Christmas tree looking suit. Anyway, So, so yeah, that's just kind of like, well, again, the biggest Easter egg, because we've been pointing this out again with the fourth wall breaking. She'd be a match made in heaven for Deadpool. Like that. That's something I'd love to see happen.
It's like I want to see Deadpool's like reactions. Like, why was it like I didn't get any royalties from those shoes?
God.
I mean, he totally would say like, give me the royalty for those shoes right now.
Right.
He totally would do that.
No, no.
Either that or he'd be extremely flattered with like, oh, you made these shoes inspired by me? Oh, that's so nice.
It kind of even kind of this running gag where it'd be amazing if Deadpool were to show up in this, like, per some of these future MCU kind of like appearances we're all kind of hoping for. Like, Deadpool show up and he's like, "Wait, you can see him too?" Just calling out her fourth wall breaking. Again, not likely to happen, but it's a cute little. Anyway.
Yeah, actually, one thing that's something about the show that's a little interesting to me. Because like I understand that what's like this character is like a fourth wall breaker kind of.
Mhm. Yep,
like,
doing it before Deadpool for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, and I know that, but like, I get why they're doing it in this show, but the whole self-aware angle, it's so infrequent that I mean, I personally do not like Deadpool very much, and I have not been fond of the MCU when it does do like the self-referential humor. Like the Yelena talking for 5 minutes about why Scarlett Johansson flips her hair. Like, no, jettison that out, please. I hate that kind of humor.
Really, you don't like the
Oh,
self-referential stuff?
no. And like that's what like I hated in WandaVision, which is like you have these CIA agents or SWORD agents all standing around who are presumably adults talking like they're on like a playground talking about a fight none of them were at, and it was like, oh my god, like get rid of this, please.
Okay.
Or like Falcon being like, oh, you're doing that head tilt thing. Oh yes, Falcon, whose famous character trait is he also watches the Marvel movies and notices those. Like, no, I hate it. But when this show does break the fourth wall, it's in like endearing ways that I actually like. And so part of me kind of wants them to do it more, but I think I'm also liking it because they're not doing it very often. But then they're also not doing it very often to the point where I almost wonder why they included it. This is not me talking about a problem. This is me just like kind of wondering out loud. That's all. Like, I'm not trying to make any like prescriptions.
Sure. But I'm just saying, kind of, they are. I don't know if infrequently. I don't know if infrequently is the right word, because I mean they're doing it like a roughly the same number of times per episode, but it's kind of but they are kind of like sporadically placed.
Well, yeah, no, and that's what I mean. It's like there'll be like one or two sentences spoken to the audience at the beginning, and maybe one or two at the end.
Yeah, it's usually it's usually top in the beginning and the end, and then there's kind of like a few like kind of subtle places, like kind of like in this case, I think it's all concentrated to the beginning and the end.
And like I want to say, like, I find it endearing. I actually do like it when this show does that. It's just like I think Tatiana Maslany is like actually endearing and likable, and like kind of does the whole like self-aware thing in a likable way that doesn't feel self-satisfied the way that a lot of fourth wall breaking humor is. And so I kind of want her to do it more, but then I also feel like if she does do it more, then it'll start to grate on me like it does every other time. So what I'm saying is I don't know what I want. So, yeah.
So basically we can disregard your last 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure, if you want to. I don't care.
Anyway, we'll strike that from the record, Your Honor. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Luke Jacobson. So Luke Jacobson is he essentially is the Edna Mode. He's the master. He's the super seamstress, if you will. He's the guy making the super costumes.
Yes.
Yeah, this guy's apparently from the comics. Yeah.
And apparently he has a pretty good repertoire.
Oh yeah, for sure. So this guy, he's apparently he's a deep cut from the comics. I can't really give you the specifics of this guy, because again, here's the thing, I know of a bunch of, like, in comics we do often have like the Taylor characters, and some, for example, in Invincible we have Art, who was wonderful in the animated show, was voiced by Mark Hamill doing a Stan Lee-esque impression, which is amazing. And occasionally, I remember like Deadpool, he ran into this kind of like a random one-off, kind of like a guy like who was a tailor and had a costume shop. Well, it was like he ran into like a tailor, which is the origin of the Deadpool suit. And at times we have this thing in comics where you have somebody. Usually, Reed Richards is the guy who makes the super suits because of the whole expanding molecules thing. So you have all sorts of kind of instances like that in comics. So I couldn't recognize this guy by name, but I had to wonder, like, I wonder if there's like a guy. Apparently, this guy's not the drip broker because that was like the hookup to get to this guy. So it's so I can't really instantly place him. But the point being, definitely kind of a different looking revamp from what I understand for Luke Jacobson. Kind of a lot more kind of RuPaul flair to the guy almost, if that makes any sense.
Yep, and he has some interesting clientele, it seems.
Yes, so that's the really fun thing. So apparently he has so we reveal at the end of the episode one of the greatest Easter eggs and kind of build up and hype here is like, oh god, you can't just leave these things out in the open. Like we see a little hat box, the new Daredevil headpiece helmet, the yellow headpiece with the Daredevil horns. Yeah, that was exciting because again, unfortunately, Disney D23 kind of ticked me off here because I intentionally didn't watch the little teaser, like the little mid-season trailer for here's what's coming up on She-Hulk, because you're gonna see the Daredevil stuff and I didn't want to see it, but they keep making it sound like, hey, maybe next week Daredevil's coming to town, or I'm betting it's gonna be episode 7 and I'm hearing 8. I'm thinking 7. Because 7 has a Daredevil writer writing the episode, not from the show, but from the comics. So I don't know.
Well, it might be episode 6.
Could be. We don't know.
I hope not. I hope not, because that's before I go on my vacation.
All we know is when she gets the suit, she'll meet the Daredevil. Now she has the suit. Bring in the Daredevil.
It'll be the tag of the final episode. It'll be exactly what we've seen. He's gonna flip and then look around, and that'll be it.
God, Conner, don't say things like that, man.
And apparently, Charlie Cox might have revealed that that they're not continuing continuity from the Netflix show.
I look, Jacob. I don't think you can take too. Unfortunately, D'Onofrio and he have said things kind of like that, but you can't really give it a lot of credence because they're playing it like the characters, and what they've said is you can take it either way. Because they're saying, like, D'Onofrio's saying he's playing it like the Netflix show, which that only says that he's still playing it like as the Kingpin you know and love. That really doesn't tell us one thing one way or another. And with Charlie Cox always saying it still fits in line with, okay, even if it's just Daredevil in a new setting, it could still be the same universe. Just like we're still like 7 years past it, but we're coming in like not directly doing a season 4. So my point is, like, we still don't know. I don't think we're gonna fully know until we show up in this, but more so until we get like Echo or full on until we get Born Again to really know where we're standing with things.
Well, we have like 2 more years to wait for that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm hoping Echo would give us the answers we need more so. But yeah. So the point is, we're still playing it vague, even if Charlie Cox and D'Onofrio only know so much, and all they really know is how they're playing it.
Well, that's what they're best at in this universe.
Yeah, but yeah. So my headcanon is again, a part of me is still deludedly hoping that can't we just say it's 7 years past where Daredevil left off. Like in my hope of hopes. But again, regardless, even if it's a multiverse thing, they were just doing the stuff we always wanted to see in Netflix Daredevil. But kind of realizing it's still a win-win. But
I still hope that along with Charlie and Vince, and we also, Daredevil and Kingpin, we also get Foggy, Karen, and everyone else back too.
I heard recently those actors have not been doing much since Daredevil, so it should not be hard to get them back. So that's a good sign.
Because they were perfect for those roles.
Yeah. Regardless, my headcanon for how this goes, for why the heck would Matt Murdock go to Luke Jacobson is, aside from him apparently being the best in the business, is Melvin Potter's in jail. He was captured at the end of Daredevil season 3, so he's going to need if he wants to build a new suit that's not going to instill. Oh God, this is the guy who killed everyone at the Bolton. He crashed Kingpin's wedding and did all sorts of terrible stuff.
And maybe we'll find out why Yellow was chosen.
Well, sure. I'm thinking Jack Murdock, but perhaps there's another reason, or we're going to have a gag of like, why are you wearing yellow? This is yellow. That's the cheap joke I keep making. Like someone just telling him, you're wearing yellow, right? I thought this was supposed to be red.
Hey,
Darn it.
like, welcome to So You Want to Be an Imagineer, where we make fun of blind people.
Oh, with love. Blind people are awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not that they can see it. Alright, sorry. That was
Alright,
bad.
he said that, not me. Go write the letters to
This
him.
is a very visual channel.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, as you can tell by the static image that we've had up for 55 minutes.
Well, now, no, we, as far as they know, we've been playing clips of the episode the whole time, Jacob. The visual clips, but still clips.
Well, they don't know that.
I know. Well, now that anyway.
I could have been lying.
All right. Okay.
I've carried on this joke long enough. We should stop now before we say something really bad.
Okay. So the fact is, like, I'm thinking perhaps this is Daredevil's new guy for his costumes.
It's like, I'm sorry, everybody out there, if you listen to us and you're blind, we apologize.
Yes.
I actually, one of my neighbors when I used to live in my parents' house was actually blind, and he was actually really nice.
Don't pull the whole. I know a guy who's blind. Don't pull.
I know. I'm just saying. It was an aside. Like I said, I'm saying I knew a blind guy, and he was actually really nice.
All right.
I mean, I wasn't trying to say like it justifies my joke or anything.
I'd be more impressive if you said I knew a blind guy and he was just a complete prick. I didn't like him at all.
I can't say that about him. He's a great guy.
I know. You're anyway.
It's like I wasn't trying to like turn that into like a justification or anything.
All right. Anyway, Connor, would you like to weigh in on kind of the hype of Daredevil?
Look, I'm not like a crazy like Daredevil fan. Like, not that all fans of Daredevil are crazy. Like,
Thank you.
I don't care about Daredevil. So, the prospect of seeing him, cool. I imagine when he shows up, it'll be nice or something. I don't know. I thought the show was fine. So, I don't know. The last time I saw Daredevil was in one of the worst movies of last year. So I don't care.
Yeah, you really didn't care for
it was garbage. It's the worst Marvel movie. It's terrible. Sorry, everyone. Everyone disagrees with me, I know, but it's so bad. Oh my god.
See, if anyone's ever wondering where we found Conner Nielsen, we plucked him from the Bizarro world. This is Bizarro Connor.
What's up, everybody?
See, his brother's the other Nielsen. That's from the other. He's from our continuity.
Yeah, and he hates that movie even more than I do. Anyway,
never mind. Wait. Is he the twin or remind me, Connor? Is it there's a twin and then is there a brother who's not a twin, or is it three twins or triplets?
Oh,
three twins.
we have a brother who is 9 years younger than us.
Okay, that's what I thought. So it's a twin and a brother.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I was wondering because I think I've quoted that once. So yeah, we know a twin. Talks just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but no, we're going to move on. Let's see. So,
what?
Put the cookie down, Connor.
And then his brother talks like Danny DeVito.
Anyway,
that's a Twins reference.
Yeah. Seriously, how great! No one ever talks about that. Everyone's always going to Kindergarten Cop. I love Twins, man.
They were also in that Junior movie too.
That was not so good at all, really.
Yeah,
no.
No.
Yeah, it was not good. All right, so point being,
the point I guess to make an actual contributing point,
yes, please
beyond
do.
Just hating on Spider meme because it's bad. The point is, I think I really like the yellow Daredevil costume. I'm a sucker for like Silver Age, Golden Age retro stuff. And so them bringing that to life, I think that's really cool. If nothing else, it'll be cool to see that costume in live action.
Yeah, apparently they had like creative freedom to write Daredevil how they wanted, but they had
there was one stipulation: they had to put him in the yellow and red.
Yeah.
Oh, whose stipulation was that?
Well, it was the higher up, so I guess by proxy, Feige,
and most likely Feige. Yeah.
Hey, my man. Right.
Yes. I imagine it's. I think broadly it's just to give like a new flavor thing, so people won't just look at think entirely of the old Daredevil. But again, it might be a practical thing, like him, or change things up for his art going forward. I don't know. Point being, they want. Plus, it's like ultimately, it's the whole point of whatever we're doing with Daredevil right now. We're trying to do the things we were not able to do in Netflix. So one way or another, we're giving Kingpin the white and the diamond tip cane, and we're giving Daredevil the yellow suit. The only thing we need to give Daredevil now, which hopefully we'll do by Born Again, give him the red suit and the D's. Give him the 2 D's. That's and it's on the logo. We have the 2 D's on the logo, so it might happen.
Yeah.
Give him the one giant D on his red or on his yellow costume. Do it. Do it.
D.
Come on, D. Sorry, Turk Barrett, famous words. So, and point being, Luke Jacobson here. He's finally. So I've been kind of tracking in the show, which I'm looking forward to now. I love She-Hulk's wardrobe, man, when she's like going the full lawyer here, and that was like the one thing. Looking at the baggy suit she's wearing, I love the practicality of it, where it's like, yeah, she's stuck wearing that baggy suit, which is it's not her best look. It's okay, but it serves a practical purpose. It's the idea, like when she shrinks down, she's wearing like a big old baggy suit. When she's She-Hulk, she's like, okay, well, it's just She-Hulk wearing a very bland suit. So the fact that now we have a whole bunch of wardrobe options for her, is going to be really cool to see her in court dressed like Jennifer Walters would dress, like when she did the parole hearing for Emil Blonsky. Okay, it's kind of a nice little kind of ensemble she's got there. And, of course, getting the purple super suit. That's kind of cool, too. But,
yeah. We're going to need a lot of fabric.
Yep, going to need a lot of stretchy wool, yeah. It was like a stretchy wool polymer blend of some kind. So that's
very stretchy.
And again, the only gripe I have is like it bugs me. We don't see any of these at the end. I'm not saying we need to see the suit yet. I'm saying that's the one we build up. We just see her like coming like a little 80s wardrobe montage or something. I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe stretchy wool is her new best friend besides spandex.
Yeah.
Like spandex. Spandex is your friend.
Spandex is your best friend.
Yeah.
All right, Connor, anything else you want to weigh in with She-Hulk before we kind of wrap this puppy up?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I said all I needed to say. I think the show is, for what it is, pretty good. It's pretty slight and inconsequential, but it also, I think, commits to the sitcom formula and bit pretty well. So I don't know. It might end up being one of my the better Marvel shows, in my opinion. But I was also feeling that way about Moon Knight, and that last episode was just a disaster. So I don't know.
That's the thing. That's the pattern, though. If you think about it, like we always have the tricky last episode. So this one might be the first to break that if we're lucky.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm just curious how we're going to get a magical dreamscape flashback episode in the second to last episode with She-Hulk. That's my big question.
Yo, you're right about something there, because remember, the pattern so far has been usually the penultimate episode is really good, and then we have our iffy, like either some people think it's good, and it's just kind of always debated upon, or it's just going to be usually across the board either rushed, condensed, or something's not clicking.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about time to wrap it up, unless anybody else has any last comments.
No, I think we're
and we haven't had any live comments, so thank you for those that are going to watch us in the future.
Yep. All right. That'll do it for us this week as we holster our remotes till the next installment. Calls for the draw, Mono y Mono, just Plus and Us.
This podcast is brought to you by courtesy of She-Hulk by Titania.